Before we begin today, somewhat surprisingly, a brief content warning. In today's podcast, we are going to be discussing episode 3 of Garth Marenghi's Darkplace, Skipper the Eye Child. Please note that this episode does contain depictions of sexual assault and child death. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Things Are Getting Strange, Garth Marenghi's Darkplace Rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And I don't think I've got any X-Files news today, but we surprisingly have Garth Marenghi news.
Somewhat surprisingly, yes.
So, to set this up, we went to the Dispersed Earth evening, whatever it was, performance, press tour. Not entirely clear what you call them, is it?
Yeah.
Encounter with Garth Marenghi?
Encounter with Garth Marenghi, yep.
Last week, and we've subsequently got his book has come through. We haven't actually read it yet, but we've got it. But while we're there, he just mentions he's got a new project coming, a YouTube video of him talking to Mike Flanagan, the creator of The Fall of the House of Usher, The Haunting of Hill House,
Midnight Mass,
the Ouija 2 film. You know, very highly regarded in the sort of creative horror circles these days. And being us in the audience, we sort of said, oh, that's quite funny, you and Mike Flanagan. And then you told me that it was on YouTube and that I could click this link and watch Garth Marenghi talk to Mike Flanagan.
I've got to admit, to set it up in the show, he mentions that he's starting a new podcast in which he flushes the skulls of other horror writers, and I thought it was a bit.
Yeah, why would you believe him for a second, given he just lies constantly about literally everything else?
But indeed, yeah, if you check out, it'll be a couple of posts down by this stage, but our Blue Sky account, which is GetStrange42, I have linked to the video. It's about 45 minutes
45
long.
minutes, yeah.
Yep, and it is Garth Marenghi interviewing Mike Flanagan, and it is brilliant.
Yes, and we can only... Because we said that we said at the time, this is impossible given that Matthew Holness has a small role in the Haunting of Bly Manor. So it's not impossible that he has actually talked to Mike Flanagan, but we still didn't think this was an actual thing that existed. But no, there they are, talking away in character. At least Garth is in character.
I think Flanagan is a sport as well, especially given that Garth keeps calling him Mike Flanagan through the whole thing. It's
very clear that there's some agreed upon preamble or something like, right, I'm going to be an entitled jerk from this point onwards. Please just bear with this until it's over. But yeah, it was sort of fascinating to watch. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it works as an actual interview with Mike Flanagan. At the same time, it's Garth also tooting his own horn and putting Flanagan in some really awkward positions with his questions.
It'll be curious to see if this is a one-off or if he is going to flush skulls with anyone else.
Yeah, I can only imagine this is step one to getting him face-to-face with Stephen King. I think that's what the project's made of. He's gonna try. He's got to try and make a run for it.
There's some other entertaining ones you could get. What if you could get someone like Frank Darabont?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying there are not other people to do it, but the goal is Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's got to be. You've got to have the two of them facing off. And that's going to be a hoot if he gets...
Oh, I don't know. I'd like some ones that I don't think would get the joke so well, like John Carpenter would be.
I don't know if John Carpenter would... John Carpenter might get the joke, though. It's like you said to me that Clive Barker wouldn't.
Clive Barker would not get the joke. No, absolutely not.
And whether Clive Barker would even agree to do it is another matter entirely.
I mean, if you read any interviews with Clive Barker, he does take himself rather seriously. I don't think he'd get the joke.
No. Then again, I was like, I don't know if any of them know about the Midnight Pals. It's like, are they aware of it and how their depictions and things? If
anyone, Stephen King is really active online.
He probably does know about it.
Yeah, I can imagine that he would know about it, if of any of the lot.
Is Dean Koontz still alive? Because I can imagine he's not very happy with them.
Is who, sorry?
Dean Koontz still alive. I can't remember.
I don't know if Dean Koontz is still alive. I'm certainly Googling it right now.
Just because if you've never listened to the Midnight Pals, it started off as a Twitter conversation, I think. And it was basically the Midnight Society, but for horror writers. And it's kind of spawned into all kinds of very strange directions. And some of it's really funny and some of it sort of it can be hit and miss. But when it works, it really works.
It's authors living and dead as well,
yes,
because they dredge up people like Poe and Lovecraft. And for the record, Koontz is still alive.
He's alive.
He's 80 now, but he is still alive. Fair Barker would be an interesting one to get with Garth Marenghi because they have a very similar writing style.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Or, like you said...
I mean, you even got Typeface, the
Yes.
very Pinhead-like character in Terratome.
And you suggested Jordan Pele might be a fun one.
Oh, I think Pele would get the joke. You know, his roots are all in comedy. He would totally get this. I would love to see him flush skulls with Jordan Pele.
I'd also like to see Garth Marenghi mention that he had an idea for a giant sort of jellyfish or something in the sky before Nope.
Yeah. Why would he start a jellyfish when he could do a sea sponge?
Yeah. On that note, one thing we actually held on to when we were doing the X-Files and never got around to was the weird connection between the X-Files comic and Nope, which we may as well bring up here. Because there's that one story about a jellyfish or some entity living in the sky.
Oh, yes, I do remember. Yes, it's uncannily like Nope.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
We never really got around to the comics, but yeah, for weird things of if you enjoyed Nope, there is an X-Files story in the comics which actually does deal with a similar organism.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yes, Skull Flushers, inexplicably real. You can go watch it right now. Very curious as to what's going to come next.
Via the link on our Blue Sky. If you don't want to go hunting around for it, Get Strange 42 on Blue Sky. Go. I posted the link on there the other day.
And we'll keep an eye on his YouTube channel for whatever else comes out of it, because hopefully there will be other ones. And I'm still baffled. But yeah, at some point we'll read Dispersed Earth, so to get onto that and the other books, because we need to revisit Terratome, Incarcerat, and the short story one you told me you had.
Oh, yes, I don't remember its name, but there is a novella that was an Amazon Kindle exclusive, I think.
But anyway, we should get to our visit to the hospital, because we have to go to the hospital. And this week is Skipper the Eye Child, first broadcast on the 12th of February 2004. So for guest stars, we have to talk about a person who has torpedoed his entire life, for whatever reason. Well, there's a lot of explanations for how we wound up to this position, but it's mostly his fault.
True.
Go for that. It's entirely his own fault and reacting incredibly badly with some relatively mild criticism.
Yeah, I have no words, really, for this particular person.
So this, if you hadn't picked up on it or don't know already, this is Graham Linehan, who played the hospital porter. Now, he's best known as a writer rather than any kind of actor, though he does have guest spots in various things he's done across the years.
I'm not sure how well known he is outside of the UK, to be fair.
Certain things have been picked up on other people, but if you know who he is, you might have seen him in other things. I discovered some weird things while looking him up that I didn't know before.
Okay.
Which I'll get to in a minute. So anyway, he wrote for The Day-to-Day, which is a progenitor to Brass Eye. And it evolved into Brass Eye, which was the same but more extreme on a different channel. He wrote for The Fast Show, which I didn't know.
Okay.
He created with another writer and occasionally turned up in Father Ted, obviously, which remains probably his best work, unfortunately. It's slightly tarnished, but it was well before he went downhill, so we'll take some solace in that.
Father Ted, for American listeners, is an absolute magnificent example of Brit humour. It's a comedy about three priests on a remote Irish island.
Which doesn't sound like it should be very funny, but it's very strange. It's got some extremely eccentric characters, and very few of the plots go anywhere near like they seem to be going.
And it's very, very surreal as well. He
does have occasional guest spots in that. He has a walk-on appearance in I'm Alan Partridge. He was he helped write the first season of Black Books, or the first series of Black Books. It's interesting that he's not involved past that.
Or is he only the first season?
He's only the first season. Yeah, he helped create it and he helped write and direct it turns out, because I didn't know about that part. The IT Crowd, which he created, wrote, directed, and has a few guest appearances in that. That's the thing that led to his entire downfall. And just prior to that as well, Motherland, which he directed and wrote.
Oh, did he?
The pilot.
Oh, just the pilot.
And his wife...
His wife did the rest, didn't he?
His wife did the rest, yes. His wife, who has changed her surname, shall we say, after this.
To address the elephant in the room when it comes to Linehan, and the reason why certain episodes of the IT Crowd are now a bit uncomfortable, should we say?
One of them's been... one
of them's largely been taken out of circulation.
Yeah, it's been taken off streaming. It's on DVD versions, if you want it.
But essentially, he's horrendously transphobic. He's very vocally so. It's basically torpedoed his career and his marriage, and we do not condone a single thing that Linehan says.
No. He certainly blames transgenderism on why his marriage failed, but some people have postulated the more likely one is staying up until 3 a.m. on Twitter every day.
Mm.
And he was recently in trouble with the police, and that was a whole mess. And he made some very, very strange conspiracy-laden statements in court that made him sound absolutely lunatic. So yeah, he's not doing too well anymore. And apparently it's because some people chose to revisit the relevant episode of the IT Crowd and criticize him for it, and he took that very, very badly.
Yeah. I think it's just most problematic is that he was involved in so many classic Brit comedies.
Yes.
Now that even though the IT Crowd, as we've previously mentioned, is the one that's problematic, you just feel a bit awkward to talking about any of them.
Anyway, Skipper the Eye Child.
Go on, give us a synopsis of this awkward episode.
Yeah, okay. So, Rick is paged that there's a problem on the wards. And when he gets to the relevant ward, he discovers the hospital porter who tells him that the ward is locked up. Rick manfully breaks down the locked door and discovers a man being sexually assaulted by a giant eye with an enormous phallus. Rick shoots the eye monster. The man collapses onto the bed and then rapidly gives birth to a baby eye monster. And as far as we're aware, the guy dies. I don't think he comes back into the episode.
He's not mentioned after
No,
that point.
I think he's gone. This is, of course, on the anniversary of Douglas's son's death. And we discovered that his son was a strange grasshopper hybrid who I don't think we get an explanation for why he has a hybrid son. He just does. And so he has adopted the Skipper the Eye Child as his replacement. The hospital staff were informed by Wonton that there might be a baby eye monster lurking in the hospital and that everyone is to hunt it out. Reed cottons on to Douglas being guilty very fast and gives him 24 hours to get his stuff in order before he will bring everything down upon him. Douglas, realizing that he may be in trouble, smuggles Skipper to his locker in the staff room and then attempts to hide this from Liz by reading a copy of a Garth Marenghi paperback.
Called Slicer.
Liz catches an inference to Skipper just as she's leaving and discusses this with Lucien Sanchez after they've gone fencing. That was sort of real. It's just real cul-de-sac when you get to that bit, isn't it?
Roll with it.
Douglas takes Skipper up to the roof to have a bonding moment and reminisce about his deceased son again, whereupon he is cornered by Reed and the rest of the hospital staff. Douglas has a premonition, I think he says, as of what the future where Skipper will be tortured and vivisected by an uncaring Reed and the rest of the hospital staff. So when approached, Douglas punches out Liz and makes a break for it and fights his way through all the hospital staff to get into a lab where he is cornered. He is forced to the ground and then requests for one final moment to say goodbye to Skipper. Skipper then bites his hand, causing Douglas to scream in agony, thrash around the room, smashing Skipper into various objects before pulling him into a sink and presumably killing him. Reed then tries to commiserate with Douglas, informs him he cannot stay where his adopted son's body is as they need to bleach the sink. Douglas, Liz, and Lucien all meet up on the roof. Liz and Lucien commiserating with Douglas, and Douglas giving Liz a pound.
No, Liz is... He
No,
tells
yeah,
Liz
so
that she can take some painkillers.
Yeah, the Panadol. She can use some Panadol for the concussion he is induced by punching her.
So long as she pays him back.
As long as she pays back. And Lucien, he gives a £1 to for reasons I've completely forgotten.
Oh, he invites Lucien for a drink, and Lucien takes a rain check, so he gives him £1 in case he changes his mind.
Oh, that was it. And then the episode kind of runs out of track.
It kind of wraps up with just a brief explanation of what happened to Skipper as a kind of one-liner.
Yes, oh yeah, so we get a mention at the end of the inspiration for Skipper was, in fact, Garth Marenghi's dog.
Who was killed by wasps.
He was killed by wasps. Episode over, but I would say this also makes me think of the reverse of the BBC Sherlock. Because Sherlock, in the final episode, Sherlock has a memory of that dog who wanders around And then it turns out it was actually his best friend as a child who Eurus killed by shoving him down the well.
I've repressed a lot of
You've
last
repressed all
season's
this.
Sherlock, to be honest.
It's kind of like the reverse of this episode. It's what BBC Sherlock did, which is just wild. Anyway, as you said to me after watching this is probably the worst episode of Darkplace for a whole host of reasons.
You're paraphrasing me. I agree it is the worst episode of Darkplace. I'm not a real fan of it, but I also think it's unfortunately the most memorable episode of Darkplace.
Well, I'd say there was an odd mistake in it, and Darkplace is full of mistakes, but this is a weird one where there's a moment where Thornton Reed is acting, and he's actually acting on set, and that's really bewildering if you think about it.
It's even more bewildering because right after it comes the bit where Todd Rivers says what a terrible actor he is. It's like, no, that's actually the best he's done.
He was doing really well in this one scene, and what happened, given that that's the director, and you'd think he'd notice that, yes, he's actually performing properly and not just doing his usual spiel.
Yeah.
But yes, so one of the big change up in this episode, at least, is that Todd Rivers is now included in the interview set. I think he only gets one scene in this one.
He does, but I think he's a constant from this point.
Yeah. It's kind of funny to see him as well when he's not inexplicably badly dubbed.
Mm.
So we'll probably get to the most dubious part of the episode, part of the episode first, which is the whole sexual assault bit. It's so confounding though, isn't it? Every part of this.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does begin with a male patient being anally raped by a kind of cyclopean eye monster thing, but with certain enormous phalluses being completely pixelated out.
Yeah. But then you get the behind-the-scene detail of these two actors were friends as of that morning, and that the implications of why they're no longer friends is left up in the air. And that Garth gave him like half an hour to prepare for this.
Yeah. Oh, I like the throwaway line where he says, "Oh, we kept it to a minimum of only 10 to 12 people on set."
Oh, God, he's a terrible
But it also leads to one of my favourite Thornton Reed lines, because I do enjoy the one where he says something to the effect of, "Oh, you can never tell when someone's got an erection. I might have one now." I don't. But
Dean Lerner, that's Dean Lerner, though.
Sorry, not Thornton. It's Dean Lerner who says it in the interview segment. I might have one now. I don't, though.
Oh. Again, this is one of the weird ones. It's like this sexism and all the rest of it. It's the whole. You actually can see they would have done this in the 80s at the same time. It's difficult.
I think it would have been a step too far for the 80s to actually portray that on a syndicated program. I think that it's the kind of thing that I would associate more with Garth Marenghi's writing. This is, we spoke about in the first episode the inspirations behind Garth Marenghi himself. This is really Guy N. Smith kind of fiction. This is the kind of thing that those writers wrote at that time.
I can see that.
But it wouldn't have come out on TV.
No, although, I mean, if you want to be charitable to the metafiction here, you can say this episode could be the reason why it only went out in Peru.
Well, I'm kind of thinking on the basis of, I could see this being done as a movie at the time, because, for example, Rawhead Rex, one of Clive Barker's books of blood, it's horrendously gruesome, violent, and they did adapt it into a film.
Yes, but they removed a lot to get there, didn't they?
Yeah, they had to remove a lot, and the film is still bloody nasty as well. But, well, nasty for the time it came out.
Yeah.
Let's caveat that. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that could fly, though. You could get it past as a kind of B-movie.
I suppose so.
Mm.
But I mean, I'm willing to believe that this is why Channel 4 passed on it. It's like they were reviewing a handful of episodes and ran to this for like, nope, absolutely not. And this time, presumably, it was a case of, okay, you can have the episode you've got to pixelate it out, though.
Yeah.
No, we're not no compromise on this.
Could you imagine them pixelating things out? It's like, how much of Game of Thrones would go out pixelated?
True. Well, to be fair, though, this is the weird censorship things is that the erection would have been censored today.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to show erections on TV today.
I think that's the weird one. Whereas if Darkplace was chock full of nudity, that would have flown in both eras.
It's always one of those weird things when you're thinking about it. Is erection? No, the mountain crushing a man's head. Fine, out it goes.
Well, yes, much has been made of the Americans' inexplicable weirdness about censorship and what is deemed acceptable or not. This film has not yet been rated. Also went into this quite a lot with cartoony violence is fine, realistic violence is not.
For the sake of Skipper, though,
It's all bizarre.
it, there are a few bits that make you chuckle and then you feel bad about it. Like we said, like Dean Lerner's comments and things like that. But it's just a really, really uncomfortable scene.
Yes, and then we get surprise Mpreg at the end of it, which...
who doesn't love a bit of surprise Mpreg? Oh.
And that poor guy who we're not sure if is alive or dead because the episode itself does not help with that little...
He's just never seen again.
No, or mentioned again. I think he's just there, yeah. We continue, of course, with the inexplicable... This is a cop series that's inexplicably set in a medical environment, given Thornton Reed, you've got 24 hours to get your stuff together.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen this episode of some police procedural. It doesn't come up much in House, however.
And then, of course, we have our amazing cheap puppet of Skipper being the centerpiece for the episode.
I kind of like, it's one of those incidental production details that there's the ones where he's carrying around the inanimate prop, and you can see his arm around it. But anytime the eye moves, his arm is very conspicuously not around it anymore. He's not even got a fake arm to give the impression of it while he's operating it.
I also like the fact that anytime the puppet is put down, it's completely stationary, like when he hangs it in his locker.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the eye stops moving and things, because obviously, there's nothing controlling the puppet at this point.
I put you a bit in mind of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, though I know why this happened. The TV version.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's that thing where Zaphod has two heads, and one of them basically doesn't do anything the entire time.
Yeah.
And the explanation for this, partly was that you expect it BBC, it's not got a great budget. The actual explanation is the thing wasn't switched on. It was meant to do things and just wasn't turned on half the time.
Yeah.
This is the first appearance, and I keep seeing reference a lot of Garth Marenghi's car, which is, what is that thing?
I especially love the way it drew attention to it when he tells Skipper not to play with windows. It doesn't have any.
And he parks that very strange parking space. But then also it's like Rick wants to be a father again, and he just left his kid in the car in an underground parking space with nothing.
It's like, I don't know how to describe the car to someone who hasn't seen it. It looks a bit like a kind of modified golf cart with the roof sawn off.
Yeah, I would say it made... The thing I'd point to is that the that car he gets stuck in Austin Powers.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It's a bit like that.
It's really terrible amateurish effect, but it's like, if this was like a home film, the effect of lights passing and everything is like, that's pretty good for what you've got. As a TV production, that's terrible because, you have, they have blue screen because the intro is very obviously blue screen where he's typing on a typewriter. It's like, why is that not being applied to the car?
True, yeah.
I think we talked a bit in the first episode of there's the inexplicable bit with the kids where they just say, you work too hard, you should be better heroes.
Yeah.
The terrible because I watched someone else's video on Darkplace and they pointed out, it's like, the reason why that scene is there is like, there's like two layers to it. One, it's like, to try and demonstrate what kind of person Rick Douglas is. But it's also Garth Marenghi's inserted it to like give himself a confidence boost or just to aggrandize himself.
So much like the reading of Slicer in this one.
Exactly. It's no coincidence that he's picked up a Garth Marenghi paperback and Liz excitedly says, "Oh, he's my favourite author. I've read everything he's ever done." I
like some of Rick's monologue when he's reading it, where it's like, perhaps I have misjudged this genre like so many others.
But yeah, I think we can see what you're trying to do there. Mm. You pointed out, though, that scene has a really odd continuity error, although given Darkplace's continuity, also, we don't know these episodes in the right order.
No, true.
But as you pointed out, wasn't Little lobotomized like literally last episode in order to quell her psychic powers?
I was thinking on that is maybe they just lobotomized her to remove her telekinesis, if we're being generous.
If we're being generous, I think honestly it's a complete mistake. Yeah. I'd be curious if the audio commentary says, this episode's out of order, or, we forgot about that bit.
Yeah.
Because neither would actually surprise me. Mm. Oh, somehow in my summary, I didn't mention the amazing helicopter special effect.
Oh, that is stellar.
Again, it's one of those things with amateur filmmaking is that you understand force perspective is something that can work really well. Like, most of Lord of the Rings relies on force perspective, and if you do it well, it looks pretty great. You can't tell it's happening.
You see it a lot in fantasy things because it's also how they made Hagrid look massive in Harry Potter, for example.
Yeah. Along with that giant suit that the stunt double wore.
Yeah, true.
And didn't he have a horrible robot face as well?
But I remember once seeing, like, sitting at the table in Hagrid's hut,
Yeah.
how you all do it through perspective, so the kids look tiny and Robbie Coltrane looks enormous.
Well, yeah, also there was that thing in the Twist Museum in London, where they had some setups for that as well.
Oh, yes, I remember. So it made one of you look massive and the other small.
And it's all to do with, it's all optical illusions, it's all to do with how the lines of the room converge. You can't just put two people distantly from each other and expect it to work. You've got to actually do a certain setup for it.
Yeah.
Leading into Darkplace, can't afford a helicopter. Oh, understandably, that's a bit outside the budget, plus you can't get inside the studio that easily. You could have filmed that helicopter that shows up in a different way so it's not patently a model.
A remote-controlled helicopter.
A remote-controlled helicopter.
Yeah.
It's very obviously not because it's meant to be.
But to be fair, Darkspace's budget only lends them one map background that you see the characters have to change their angle so it looks like they're facing in different directions while they're against it.
Unlike a lot of the other episodes, there's no obvious things that have led into this one in quite the same way, other than a general sense of splatterpunk.
You've got a general splatterpunky sense to it, and you've also got leaning in a few times to maybe pregnancy horrors. You've got the tiniest little feel of things like Rosemary's Baby in there.
Yeah, and less Alien though. He sort of steered right around Alien.
Yeah,
which would be which is a more fitting kind of male pregnancy horror story than this
well, that
one.
was the entire purpose of Alien.
Yes.
Was the fact that pregnancy horror is traditionally aimed at scaring women, and Carpenter just thought, I've got a way to make it also scary for men.
And it's a thing the later films don't quite get, but this happens when you sort of turn things into a series that you have to relax these rules because the facehuggers aren't that picky.
No.
But you mentioned also there is a tiny, tiny bit of The Fly in here.
Oh yes, there is one.
The absolute insane line that they don't dwell on, and it's like, you really should focus on
It's magnificent. So the rapist eye monster, not Skipper, was created because somebody was having experimental mumps treatment
with gamma rays.
And the eye of a sex offender got into the machine while he was doing this.
Oh, shut up.
Which I will give as possibly the best line in the whole episode, to be honest.
Also, I would say that I think that implies that Garth is at least familiar with Incredible Hulk. I mean, I don't know how you're not familiar with Incredible Hulk, but gamma radiation is very tied up with the Hulk, isn't it?
Yes, true. That is the exact sort of radiation used in the Hulk. But also the modern Fly, at least.
The Cronenberg.
The Cronenberg, that was it. I was trying to think who did it. Of course it's Cronenberg.
Who else is good? Actually, aside from John Carpenter, who else would have done that?
But, everyone knows the plot of The Fly, of an insect flies into his teleportation machine and bad happens.
Yep. Or if you're not familiar with that, The Simpsons has a perfectly acceptable spoof version of this.
That's more the 50s Fly they're spoofing on, though. Well, to be fair, the 50s one, of course, naturally is a lot tamer. That's the one where you get...
Him with the giant fly head.
Yeah, him with the giant fly head and the tiny... the man's head on the fly body going, help me, in the spider's web. The Cronenberg one is pure body horror. He slowly mutates and you get things like his lower jaw falling off as he gains a proboscis and things like that.
Yeah.
It is... Even by modern standards, it's a really, really grisly film. It's very good, but...
I still haven't watched it somehow.
Oh, you need to see that one.
I know. It took me a while to get to the thing, and I did get to the thing eventually.
Yeah.
Still not sure why Thornton Reed inexplicably starts acting in this episode. It still bewilders me.
The episode also does a good way of encapsulating, it's not just Douglas's sexism, but it's Marenghi's himself in the self-insert, because you have all the commentary about his disappointment that he could never have a son.
Yeah, the fact he's got 4 daughters.
He's got 4 daughters, and while he doesn't blame them,
No.
this is the line.
Oh my...
But also the comment about, I'll probably never have a son because my wife is just too old. Yeah, it's not that one of these things where we often kind of blame authors for writing unpleasant characters.
Yeah.
It's the whole, if he's written a character that is this vile, he must be a terrible person. Garth is the kind of flip side of that, of normally you'd say, well, no, they're authors, they're making this up, this is how fantasy works. Garth is a terrible person.
Yeah.
And, Rick Douglas is just his author insert character who is just as terrible as he is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the famous one usually is Lolita, is what you point to.
Yeah.
And Nabokov, though, yeah, a lot of people will point out that Nabokov doesn't want you to emphasize with Humbut Humbut. As I've seen a lot of account over the years of people pointing out that during the 80s and 90s there was a misread of Lolita, it felt like. Like, it's referenced in Red Dwarf once. Because there's the whole thing where they're burning books for warmth, and Rimmer tells Liz to keep page 65 or something of Lolita for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And we can infer why.
Yeah.
It's a joke that's aged so badly in retrospect. It's
Yeah,
what on earth were you playing at? But a lot of people pointed out that people tend to read Lolita very straightforward, with Lolita being this teen temptress or whatever, and a lot of people point out that no, you're getting Humbert's perspective on this, is that he's not a
reliable narrator.
Yes. So everything he says should be taken with a pinch of salt, and even he slips up and lets slip that Lolita is not happy with what's happening.
It's often something you find with horror in particular, is it's horror fans, horror actors, horror writers are usually the nicest people you've ever met.
I would say Freddy Krueger springs to mind very
Yeah,
quickly.
Robert Englund is notoriously a really, really nice guy, and it's even been brought up in interviews with him before, and he's kind of indicated that that's why he likes playing monsters, because, they're far removed from how he is in real life.
Yeah. I think the problem is that I think as well, when you sort of say, it's the least good episode but very memorable, is outside of those memorable bits, there's not a lot here.
Mm.
And it's not even the usual thing of they've had to use slow motion to pad. You've got a few action scenes that just go on and on and on and on and on.
The interesting thing that Skip the Eye Child gives you is a bit of backstory for Rick Douglas, which you haven't had previously, other than his brief dalliings in the occult in the first episode.
Yeah.
Because you actually do get Douglas having at least at one time had a wife and a son.
Yes.
And you get the tragic fate of his son just kind of alluded to at the end of the episode when he says something to the effect of, to give you the full story of what happened to my son, I'd have to have a stiff drink. Let's just say it involved one hop and the blades of a helicopter.
Yeah, I think we can put the rest of it there.
Yeah.
It's one of these things of, is he being disarmingly honest, or did he not understand how he makes him look? When you get the flashback sequences and they beat him at badminton and he's like the worst loser.
I like how the images in the flashback sequences don't tally with what he's saying either, because his commentary says, of course my son can never beat me, and you see the kid beating him at badminton and him throwing a temper tantrum over it in the background.
I thought as well, though, they've sort of really effectively captured the awfulness of 80s home film.
Mm.
Like, again, it's very different these days, where everyone's got a camera in their pocket and everything, and you can film whatever you want. But when the video camera was new and exotic for a family to have, you would get these awful things of people just standing somewhere and waving, and there'd be hours of this footage.
I remember when we first got our video camera when we were at home. Sorry, Dad, I'm going to tell the story. But whenever we go on holiday, the first thing Dad would do would have us kind of standing outside an apartment or a hotel or whatever, so he could just do a film through of what the hotel looked like. But these were the kind of things that you filmed with these cameras.
And it'd be a curious thing to sort of chart over time of how that's changed, because I would wonder how much of anything captured in the 80s was actually watchable from an entertainment point of view. Because the old standby joke is, if someone has slides of their holiday, the videotape of someone's holiday is exponentially more tedious than slides.
Ever since when we got our video camera, it went on every holiday with us, and I don't think anyone ever rewatched anything.
Why would you? It's like
it got transferred onto a videotape from the kind of cassette things that we put in them. Kids at home, they didn't used to be digital. We'd get it professionally transferred onto a video, and then you would never watch that video.
Because what on earth could you hope to gain from it? But the flashbacks to Rick at home with his wife really do express the kind of tedium of what you would get from this.
Yeah.
And an interesting question, though, the episode does not answer, is who's filming that sequence?
Good point. If both Douglas and his wife are in there.
Yeah.
His wife, who I don't think gets named either.
She doesn't.
His wife in Garth Marenghi's wife in real life was called Pam. But
yes. But I don't think we know Douglas's wife's name. Or well, presumably they divorced after the Skipper the Eye Child. No, Skipper died.
You've got to assume that, Skipper...
Not Skipper, the dress-up boy.
Oh, he's also called Skipper.
Yes,
yeah. Skipper 1.
Skipper 1.
You've got to kind of assume that on the basis that nobody really knew he had a wife and child, that they're no longer together.
Yeah.
I do love the lullaby as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god.
When he first takes Skipper up onto the roof and you just have that awkward thing of him singing the worst lullaby in the world.
And this man has a rock career now, just saying.
Yeah, but that's because he sold his soul for...
He didn't sell his soul. He didn't sell his soul. His neighbour sold his soul. He just got the fumes and they sort of combined it back into him.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yes, the lullaby with Val just coming in at the end as an unexpected punch.
Day draws into night time, yonder star shine
he's going to sue us for this, right?
Garth Marenghi definitely would.
Yeah. Matthew Honols, I think, will be okay.
Sorry, Garth. I won't sing any more of your wonderful lullaby. That does end with him commenting that one day everyone will meet in Valhalla. But yeah.
There's a scene as well that it ties back into that whole, the 80s sexism that the series is just replete with. Which is just an excuse for Liz to strike a pose in fencing gear.
Yes.
But we have to rewind a little bit to Lucien Sanchez and Liz are fencing in a room in the Darkplace hospital, and that's just we're just gonna just breeze past that a little bit. But
they've also got weird sexual tension.
They do.
Because there's the bit at the start where she cries in all her makeup run and he says, "Come on, Liz, I'll help you reapply your makeup," or something.
Well, I think it's going to come later on because Lucien apparently does have a reputation, but it's really badly kind of foreshadowed that he's like this.
Yeah.
We will get there. But again, I think it comes back into that the amateur filmmaking thing of we've got to make it look like these people have lives outside of the medical profession. And at the same point, you want to say, we watch House to watch House do the medical thing. We don't necessarily care what Chase does in his downtime.
Got to admit, if you think about it, admittedly, I haven't seen all of House, but at least in the first, 3-4 seasons, they don't have much of a life outside the hospital.
No, and I think you get more of House's stuff, but that's mainly because it still ties back into what he's doing. House
and occasionally maybe Wilson gets a little bit to do outside.
Well, when your main characters are Sherlock and Watson, they're going to get them as development.
Yeah.
The other three are Baker Street irregulars, basically.
Poor guys.
I mean, they are.
Well, Cutty as well. Yeah. Her only development is really in line with House. Their kind of will they, won't they sort of relationship.
Yeah. But it's the whole, we've got to give them something. And it's the mental process to land on fencing.
Yeah.
Of all the things.
I think it's the thing, though, it's like you've said before, is the fact that we haven't got it nailed down as the hospital is a hospital.
No.
The fact that these two apparently on duty doctors walk into the hospital in fencing gear, still holding their foils. Yeah. Like there's some kind of fencing studio in the hospital.
Well, to be fair, I think they've walked out of that fencing studio because I think that's just to the side.
Yeah.
I've never considered before, though, that Darkplace is... The writing is wrong for the formulaic series it's meant to be. It's not written like a hospital drama, inexplicably, despite being where it's set. And everyone is a doctor, but it still works as the renegade cop drama instead.
Yeah. There are rooms in the hospital that are used for whatever we fancy them being used for this week.
Yeah. It's a bit further down the line when you find out just the production of Darkplace seems to be that they got money from someone and made this series and tried to hand it to Channel 4. And Channel 4 didn't have a lot of input on what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Or no kind of veto on what they were going to do with this. And so there's a lot of weird stuff that presumably would have been killed very early on if they'd had any kind of control over it. Just the entire premise of the series, really.
I liked the ending, just the last little bit with Garth Marenghi in Skipper the Eye Child in the wraparound, where he tried to make it political as well.
What did you say again? I've forgotten.
Well, there is a running gross humour thing throughout the episode. Where
yes.
Garth's incensed because he went into the men's bathroom and found a pube on the pipes. And this keeps rearing its head through the episodes until Thornton finally gets someone to go in and clean it, thus pacifying him. But in the wraparound, he comments it being a metaphor for the government who need to really get their hands dirty. And are they prepared to get down there and clean things? It's like, nice try, Garth.
Well, that's interesting in conjunction with Skullfleshers, because has Garth regressed since Darkplace, given that, like Flanagan, desperately tries to point out the actual underlying themes of his work to him, and Garth cannot understand what you're talking about?
My favourite one in Skullfleshers, and I will try not to spoil it because you guys need to
Is
hear
it the
it.
fish?
It's the Oculus.
Oh, the Oculus, yeah.
Garth Marenghi misunderstanding what Oculus was about. And it's a brilliant, brilliant joke that Garth then can't let go.
Yeah. But I mean, Flanagan was sort of trying to say about, there's the thing about they've got to catch the fish, so they've got to build a giant hook, and it's which one will get there first. And Flanagan saying, oh, that's all about development and how people are being left behind by things. He's saying, no, it's about catching giant fish.
Yeah. It's your Garth Marenghi quote with, I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards again. Yeah.
Just still sums him up in a way that nothing else really can. Do we have much else for this one?
I don't think so. There's not really a lot for me to go on with this one.
Well, I think this is why we rambled off faster and sort of weirder than previous, because it's not, as you said, it is not the best episode.
No, there are 3 more episodes to go, and I think the inspirations from what I remember of those 3 are a lot clearer. So it should at least give us a bit more of a jumping off point.
I would agree. Okay, so next time is the Apes of Wrath, which, from memory, Garth will try and hint and allude to what's going to happen as if it's a surprise, despite that being his title. And we get Noel Fielding next time. If you'd like to get hold of us, though, our email address is thingsargettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can find us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at GetStrange42, or on Facebook by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I also stream live on Twitch TV. It's Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT under the name AdverseCamber42. At the moment, I'm playing Liza P. Overture on PlayStation 5 and Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory on PlayStation 4.
Our theme song is Envisioned by Kevin MacLeod. You can find it on Compotech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember,
Look out, he's got a stick!